Here's the story of some file cabinets, a big move, and some texture. In the midst of my moving, I decided I was going to participate in the Makers Challenge Season 4 Furniture Flip. The theme was texture, so I decided to convert these smooth file cabinets that I would be using in my new space to something that looked very rusty and crusty. I got started by cleaning them and rinsing them thoroughly, and then I removed the hardware. Ew, look what was under the handle. I started with the drawer fronts, and I had to use Slick Stick, a bonding primer, in order to get anything to stick to that slick surface. I used some unconventional tools. This came from Wilton, the cake decorating people, and I wanted it and thought it would be perfect to simulate corrugated metal. So I used Dixie mud and the cake decorating tool after the slick stick and applied it. I apologize for not getting footage of applying it, but here is what it looks like when it's drying, and here's what it looks like when it's dry. The next step, I wanted to give it a coat of paint, so I used French linen and coated it with an undercoat of French linen. After that, I pulled out the Dixie Belle copper patina paint and started painting. I don't know why I chose such a small brush, but I just thought it would help me get into those little grooves, but I ended up painting both drawer fronts with this little brush. So copper patina is really cool. I usually don't use it a whole lot. It comes in brass, copper, and iron. And iron is usually my go-to. And I also usually use the green activating spray with it. But I was kind of going rogue and also wanting to finish up bottles and jars that were around and needed moved. So anything that I could do to lessen the move, the better. So I applied a first coat and now a second coat. And yes, I'm still using the teeny tiny brush. When you're moving, sometimes you use what you can find. And that's how that goes. Perhaps my time would have been better spent packing some more. Oh my, what an ordeal. It's something to move a house, but then to move a business is quite another thing, especially when your business depends a lot on repurposing junk. So now that the second coat is dry, I am using the activator spray in blue, and you always want to shake it up. The little metal particles in there can separate, so that's why you want to shake. You also want to shake and stir the jar as well of the copper. But really this blue, so you spray it on and here's what it looks like, and you're just going to let it sit. I can begin to see the oxidization happening immediately. This is real time. So you can see that sort of teal color that's starting to happen with the patina process. And I come back later and look what we have. And now I want to work on the file cabinet portion. Now I need to use a different kind of primer. This is called Prime Start, and you should always use it when you're working with metal and the patina line of paints. So I didn't use it on the drawers because I used the slick stick, so I technically wasn't painting right on the metal. So that's what a coat looked like, and now I'm applying the brass patina on top of the Prime Start. While that was drying, I turned my attention to the handles. I did the same procedure using the Prime Start, the copper glaze, and then the blue patina. And while the blue patina was drying on the second coat, I patted it a little bit, but I used my secret weapon, cinnamon. I love the way cinnamon gives it some extra texture and that rusty look. I'm doing the same thing to the top of the file cabinet now after the Prime Start and both coats of copper patina and the bluing. So while the bluing is kind of doing its thing, that's when I'm using my cinnamon. I also waxed the surface. Tried a few different things because I had already finished the drawer fronts. So I used some black wax on there to give it some extra depth of color. And then I sprinkled the cinnamon on so it would kind of stick in there a little bit. And I'm just using a big stencil brush and just kind of applying that cinnamon wherever I can, get it to stick inside the drawers. And boy, it smells good. So when I'm ready to put my hardware on, I need to go and use a little utility knife. I didn't think to tape the back of the drawers, so some of that Dixie mud, when it dried, it poked through the drawer handle holes, but it was no big deal. I just put the screws through and we were ready to go. Here's what my drawer fronts look like after their rusty, crusty treatment. Let's take a look back to where we started with these file cabinets. I also had to go get a key made for the other one in the midst of all of the moving and everything. I did not win the challenge, but that's okay. That was the first time for that, and now I know maybe more of what they're looking for. But here's how they turned out, and I think they're really cool. I still have the other one to do, but I just love them. They're actually going to sit, and it wouldn't have mattered how I finished the top because they're going to support some doors to make a desk. And here's the end of this story, my empty store. But all endings have new beginnings, so stay tuned for our new digs. Gonna be in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania at the US Hotel, so keep watching. Thank you so much for watching today. If you like this video, how about giving it a thumbs up and also share it with your friends? If you haven't subscribed, you'll want to do that so you don't miss anything. Visit us at LiVintageDecor.company, and on Instagram we're LiVintageDecor, and on Facebook we're LiVintageDecor Altoona. Stay well.